First Kings chapter 4. Solomon's official and governor. King Solomon now ruled over all Israel, and these were his high official. Azariah son of Zadok was the priest. Elihoreph and Ahijah the son of Sisha were called secretary. Jehoshaphat son of Ali was a royal historian. The son of Jair was the commander of the army. Zadok and Abiathar were priests. Azariah son of Nasa was in charge of district governor. Zabad son of Nasa, a priest, was a trust advisor to the king. Ahisha was manager of the palace property. Adoniram, son of Abda, was in charge of forced labor. Solomon also had the 12 district governors who were over all Israel. They were responsible for providing food for king's household. Each of them arranged provision for 1 month of the year. These are the names of the 12 governors: Behar in the hill country of Ephraim, Bendekar in Makkah, Shalbin, Bethshemesh, and Enom Basam, Behem in Aram, including Sgom and all the land of Heber, Baalada in all the Laphdor. He was married to Taphrin, one of Solomon's daughters. Bana son of Ahilad in Tant and Mago, all the Bashan, near Zerim below Zajerim, and all the territory from Bashan to Abraham, and to over the Jokman. Ben-Gader in Ramoth Gilead, including the town of Jer, named for Jer of the tribe of Manasseh, in Gilead and in the Argob region of Bashan, including 60 large fortress towns with brazen bars on their gate. Ahinab son of Abi in Mahanaim, Ahimaaz in Nabin. He was married to Bashan, another of Solomon's daughter. Bala son of Hushan in Hisha in Alos, Jasper son of Paran in Asher, Shimei son of Ali in Benjamin, Gabriel son of Uri in the land of Gilead, including the territory of King Shinon of the Amorite and the king Og Bashan. There are also 1 governor over the land of Judah. Solomon's prosperity and wisdom. The people of Judah and Israel were as numerous as the sand at the seashore. They were very contented with plenty to eat and drink. Solomon ruled over all the kingdoms from the Euphrates River in the north to the land of the Philistines and the border of Egypt in the south. The conquered people of those lands sent tribute money to Solomon and continued to serve him throughout his lifetime. The daily food required for Solomon's palace were 150 bushels of choice flour and 300 bushels of meal, also 10 oxen from the flattened pens, 20 pasture-fed cattle, 100 sheep or goat, as well as deer, gazelles, raw deer, and choice poultry. Solomon's dominions extended over all the kingdoms west of the Euphrates River, from Tapasha to Gaza, and there were peace on all his borders during the lifetime of Solomon. All of Judah and Israel lived in peace and safety, and from Dan in the north to Beersheba in the south, each family had its own home and garden. Solomon had 4,000 stalls for his chariot horse, and he had 12,000 horses. The district governor faithfully provided food for King Solomon and his court. Each made sure nothing was lacked during the months assigned to him. They also brought the necessary barley and store for the royal horses in the stable. God gave Solomon very great vision and understanding and knowledge as fast as the sand of the seashore. In fact, his wisdom existed that of all the wise men of the East and the wise men of Egypt. He was wiser than anyone else, including Ethan, the Ezrahite, and the son of Haman, Calcol, and Dardar. His fame spread throughout all the surrounding nations. He composed some 3,000 prophets and wrote 1,005 songs. He could speak with authority about all kinds of plants, from the great cedar of Lebanon to the tiny hyssop that grow from cracks in a rock. He could also speak about animal, birds, small creatures, and fish. And kings from every nation sent their ambassador to listen to the wisdom of Solomon. Chapter 5. Preparation for building the temple. King Hiram of Tyre has already been a loyal friend of David. When Hiram learned that David's son Solomon was the new king of Israel, he sent a ambassador to congratulate him. Then Solomon sent this message back to Hiram. You know that my father David was not able to build a temple to honor the name of the Lord his God because of the many wars waged against him by surrounding nations. He could not build until the Lord gave him victory over all his enemies. But now the Lord my God has given me peace on every side. I have no enemies, and all is well. So I'm planning to build a temple to honor the name of the Lord my God, just as he has instructed my father David. For the Lord told him, Your son, who I will place on your throne, will build a temple to honor my name. Therefore, please command that the cedar from Lebanon be cut for me. Let my men work alongside yours, and I will pay your men whatever wages you ask. As you know, there is no one among us who can cut timber like your Sidonians. When Hiram received Solomon's message, he was very pleased and said, Praise the Lord today for giving David a wise son to be king of the great nation of Israel. Then he sent this reply to Solomon. I have received your message, and I will supply all the cedar and the cypress timber you need. My servant will bring the logs from the Lebanon mountains to the Mediterranean Sea and make them into rafts and float them along the coast to whatever place you choose. Then we will break the raft apart so you can carry the log away. You can pay me by supplying me with food for my household. So Hiram supplied as much cedar and cypress timber as Solomon desired. In return, Solomon sent him an yearly payment of 100,000 bushels of wheat for his household and 110,000 gallons of pure olive oil. So the Lord gave wisdom to Solomon just as he had promised, and Hiram and Solomon made a formal alliance of peace. Then King Solomon conscripted a labor force of 30,000 men from all Israel. He sent them to Lebanon in shift, 10,000 every month, so that each man would be 1 month in Lebanon and 2 months at home. Adoniram was in charge of this labor force. Solomon also had 70,000 common labor, 80,000 quarry workers in the hill country, and 3,604 men to supervise the work. And the kings command the quarry a large block of high-quality stone and shape them to make the foundation of the temple. Men from the city of Gabal helped Solomon's and Hiram's builder prepare the timber and the stone for the temple. Chapter 6. Solomon built the temple. It was in mid-spring, in the month of Ziv, during the 4th year of Solomon's reign, that he began to construct the temple of the Lord. This was 480 years after the people of Israel were rescued from the slavery in the land of Egypt. The temple that King Solomon built for the Lord was 19 feet long, 30 feet wide, and 45 feet high. The entry room at the front of the temple was 30 feet wide, running across the entire width of the temple. It projected outward 15 feet from the front of the temple. Solomon also made narrow, recessed windows throughout the temple. He built a complex of rooms against the outer wall of the temple all the way around the side and the rear of the building. The complex was 3 stories high, the bottom floor being 7 and half feet wide. The second floor 9 feet wide, and the top floor 10.5 feet wide. The rooms were connected to the wall of the temple by beams resting on ledges built out from the wall. So the beam was not inserted into the walls themselves. The tall stones used in the construction of the temple were finished at the quarry, so there was no sound of a hammer, axe, or any other iron tool at the building site. The entrance to the bottom floor was on the south side of the temple. There were winding stairs going up to the second floor and another flight of stairs between the second and the third floor. After completing the temple structure, Solomon put in a ceiling made of cedar beam and planks. As already stated, he built a complex of rooms along the side of the building, attached to the temple wall by cedar timber. Each story of the complex was 7.5 feet high. Then the Lord gave this message to Solomon: Concerning this temple you are building, you are keep all my decrees and regulations and obey all my commandments. I will fulfill through you the promise I made to your father David. I will live among the Israelites and will never abandon my people Israel. The temple's interior. So Solomon finished building the temple. The entire inside, from floor to ceiling, was piled with wood. He piled the wall and the ceiling with cedar, and he used planks of cypress for the floor. He partitioned of an inner sanctuary, the most holy place, at the far end of the temple. It was 30 feet deep and was piled with cedar from floor to ceiling. The main room of the temple outside the most holy place was 60 feet long. Cedar panel completely covered the stone wall throughout the temple, and the paneling was decorated with carving of gold and open flowers. He prepared the inner sanctuary at the far end of the temple, where the ark of the Lord the Covenant would be placed. This inner sanctuary was 30 feet long, 30 feet wide, and 30 feet high. He overlaid the inside with solid gold. He also overlaid the outer made of cedar. Then Solomon overlaid the rest of the temple's interior with solid gold, and he made gold chains to protect the entrance to the most holy place. So he finished overlaying the entire temple with gold, including the altar that belongs to the most holy place. He made 2 cherubim of wild olive wood, each 15 feet tall, and placed them in the inner sanctuary. The wingspan of each of the cherubim was 15 feet, each wing being 7.5 feet long. The 2 cherubim were identical in the shape and the size. Each was 15 feet tall. He placed them side by side in the inner sanctuary of the temple. They outspread wing reached from wall to wall, while their inner wing touched at the center of the room. He overlaid the 2 cherubim with gold. He decorated all the wall of the inner sanctuary and the main room with covering of cherubim, palm tree, and open flowers. He overlaid the floor in both rooms with gold. For the entrance of the inner sanctuary, he made double door of wild olive wood with 5 side door posts. These double doors were decorated with covering of cherubim, palm tree, and open flowers. The doors, including the decoration of cherubim and palm tree, were overlaid with gold. Then he made 4 side door posts of wild olive wood for the entrance to the temple. There were 2 folding doors of cypress wood, and each door was hanging to fold back upon itself. These doors were decorated with carving of cherubim, palm tree, and open flowers, all overlaid evenly with gold. The walls of the inner courtyard were built so that there were 1 layer of cedar beam between every 3 layers of finished stone. The foundation of the Lord's temple was laid in mid-spring in the month of Ziv. During the 4th year of Solomon's reign, the entire building was completed in every detail by mid-autumn in the month of Bau, during the 11th year of his reign. So it took 7 years to build the temple. Chapter 7. Solomon built his palace. Solomon also built a palace for himself, and it took him 13 years to complete the construction. One of Solomon's buildings was called the Palace of the Forest of Lebanon. It was 150 feet long, 75 feet wide, and 45 feet high. There were 4 rows of cedar pillar and a great cedar beam rest on the pillar. The hall had a cedar roof above the beam. On the pillar were 45 side rooms arranged in 3 tiers of 15 each. On each end of the long hall was 3 rows of windows face each other. All the doorway and the doorpost had a rectangular frame and were arranged in the set of 3, face each other. Solomon also built the hall of pillar, which was 75 feet long and 45 feet wide. There was a porch in front, along with a canopy supported by pillar. Solomon also built the throne room, known as the Hall of Justice, where he sat to hear the legal matters. It was paneled with cedar from floor to ceiling. Solomon's living quarters around a courtyard behind this hall, and they were constructed the same way. He also built similar living quarters for Pharaoh's daughter, whom he had married. From foundation to eave, all these buildings were built from huge blocks of high-quality stone, cut with saw and trimmed to exact measure on all sides. Some of the huge foundation stones were 15 feet long and some were 12 feet long. The blocks of high-quality stone used in the wall were also cut to measure, and cedar beams were also used. The walls of the great courtyard were built so that there was 1 layer of cedar beams between every 3 layers of finished stone. So just like the wall of the inner courtyard of the Lord temple with its entry room. Furnishing for the temple. King Solomon then asked for a man named Huram to come from Tyre. He was half Israelite since his mother was a widow from the tribe of Naphtali, and his father has been a craftsman in bronze from Tyre. Huram was extremely skillful and talented in any work in bronze, and he came to do all the metal work for King Solomon. Huram cast 2 bronze pillars, each 27 feet tall and 80 feet in circumference. For the top of the pillar, he cast a bronze capital, each 7.5 feet tall. Each capital was decorated with 7 sets of lattice work and interwoven chains. He also encircled the lattice work with 2 rows of pomegranates to decorate the capital over the pillar. The capital on the corner inside the entry room was shaped like water lilies, and they were 6 feet tall. The capital on the 2 pillars had 200 pomegranates in 2 rows around them. Besides the rounded surface length to the lattice work, Huram set the pillars at the entrance of the temple, one toward the south and one toward the north. He named the one on the south Jachin and the one on the north Boaz. The captain on the pillar were shaped like water lilies, and so the work on the pillar was finished. Then Huram cast a great round basin, 15 feet across from rim to rim, called the sea. It was 7.5 feet deep and about 45 feet in the circumference. It was encircled just below its rim by 2 rows of decorative grout. There were also 6 gourds per foot all the way around, and they were cast as part of the basin. The sea was placed on a base of 12 bronze oxygen, all facing outward. 3 faced north, 3 faced west, and 3 faced south, and 3 faced east, and the sea rested on them. The wall of the sea were about 3 inches thick, and its rim flared out like a cup and resembled a water lily blossom. It could hold about 11,000 gallons of water. Hiram also made 10 broad water carts, each 6 feet long, 6 feet wide, and 4.5 feet tall. They were constructed with side panels braced with crossbars. Both the panel and the crossbar were decorated with carved lion, oxen, and the cherubim. Above and below the lion and oxen were wrist decoration. Each of these carts had 4 bronze wheels and bronze axle. There were supporting posts for the bronze basin as the collar of the cart. These supports were decorated on each side with carving of wreaths. The top of each cart had a rounded frame for the basin. It projected 1.5 feet above the cart top like a round pedestal, and it openly was 2.25 feet across. It was decorated on the outside with carving of wreaths. The panel of the cart were square, not round. Under the panel were 4 wheels that were connected to axles that had been cast as one unit with the cart. The wheels were 2.25 feet in diameter and were similar to chariot wheel. The axle, spoke, rim, and hubs were all cast from molten bronze. They were handled at each of the 4 corners of the cart, and these too were cast as one unit with the cart. Around the top of each cart was a rim 9 inches wide. The collar supports and the side panel was cast as one unit with the cart. Covering and the cherubim, lion, and the palm tree decorate the panel and the collar support. Wherever there were room and there were wrists all round. All 10 water carts were the same size and were made alike, for each was cast from the same mold. Hiram also made 10 smaller bronze and basin, one from each cart. Each basin was 6 feet across and could hold 220 gallons of water. He set 5 water carts on the south side of the temple and 5 on the north side. The great bronze basin called the sea was placed near the southeast corner of the temple. He also made the necessary wash basin, shovel, and bowls. So at last, Hiram completed everything King Solomon has assigned him to make for the temple of the Lord. The 2 pillars, and the 2 bowl-shaped capital on the top of pillar, and the 2 network of interwove chain and decorate the capital. The 400 pomegranate and huge that hang from the chain on the capital, 2 rows of the pomegranate for each of the chain networks that decorate the capital on the top of the pillar. The 10 water cart holds the 10 pacing, the sea and the 12 oxen under it, the ash bucket, the shovel, and the bowl. Hiram made all these things burnished bronze for the temple of the Lord, just as King Solomon has directed. The king had them cast in clay mold in the Jordan Valley between Succoth and Zaresan. Solomon did not weigh all these things because there were so many. The weight of the bronze could not be measured. Solomon also made all the furniture of the temple of the Lord, the gold altar, the gold table for the bread of the presence, the lampstand of solid gold, 5 on the south and 5 on the north, is in the front of the most holy place. The flower decoration, lamps and the tongues, all of gold. The small bowls, lamps, slaver, the bowls, ladles, and the incense burner, all of solid gold. The door for the entrance to the most holy place, and the main room of the temple with the front overlaid with gold. So King Solomon finished all his work on the temple of the Lord. Then he brought all the gifts his father David had dedicated: the silver, the gold, and the fierce articles, and he stored them in the treasure of the Lord's temple. Okay, so that is the 4th chapter is talking about King Solomon built temple and her palace. Okay, so that is today's Bible learning. Hope everyone like it. God bless everyone. Let's see you tomorrow.